UFC 302 just recently wrapped up, and I'm going to recap the entire card. We're going to start with the first fight of the night and then work our way up to the main event. So make sure you guys smash the like button. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe it up. And let's jump right into things. Starting the card off, we had André Lima versus Mitch Raposo. Lima came in way overweight, and you know what? That evident size advantage ended up being a real factor in the fight. He went out and outstruck Mitch Raposo. Did get taken down at one point, but no real damage from top by Raposo. Lima's striking was pretty good. He's a decent prospect. He makes some mistakes, and there's bad habits that are definitely there. He's only 25, so room to improve is definitely real. But the issue is he comes in weighing 130 for a fight in the flyweight division. So what are we doing? Are we going to be fighting at 125 again? Or does he have to move up now to 135? I don't know what the plan is moving forward, but I definitely see him as, I don't know, better at 125. He's still a young dude, 25, lots of room to improve. Good Muay Thai, really nice kicks, and there's things to like. Raposo's tough. I'm excited for what's next with him. Hard matchup on short notice, giving up 5 pounds too. Next fight on the card, the beef was squashed. Ailin Perez and Jocelyn Edwards fought, this time in the cage, not in the street, and Ailin Perez's wrestling got her the win. But man, were there some rookie mistakes. Jocelyn Edwards was reversing positions a couple of times. Perez's wrestling saved her in the fight, and honestly, that spinning back fist knockdown in the second round was pretty sick as well. Ailin Perez had decent moments in the fight. I don't know, it was okay. It was an all right win. The twerk queen afterwards was twerking it up. That's her style. What else is there to be said? Decent ladies fight. Takedowns by Perez. Nice spinning back fist. She beats Jocelyn Edwards. She keeps herself afloat and moving up in the ranks. She's got a good record, 10-2. The twerking's definitely pretty sellable, but if you ask me how she's going to do against some of these better girls at 135, I think she's going to fumble the bag, man, because there's some positional mistakes that were just harsh on the ground. Let's keep running. I want to jump to the next fight. Next fight, Bassil Hafez versus Mickey Gall. Let's give a round of applause to these two, okay? Because they put it on the line and delivered an absolute banger on the card. Easily could have been a fight of the night. And I think that Hafez kind of had a little bit of like beginner's luck against Jack Della Maddalena because he didn't look nearly as good here against Mickey Gall. Hafez was throwing real big power strikes, and like he definitely landed some bombs, and Mickey Gall's chin held up nicely, but Hafez was like a sucker to the straight right, and he's like super hittable there with those damn straights. Now, Mickey Gall wasn't able to knock him out, but he did buckle Hafez a little bit, and obviously Hafez rocked the hell out of Mickey Gall. Gall's face was busted up after the fight, and it was a clean win for Bassil Hafez. He went out there, put pressure on Gall. He did wrestle a little bit late in the fight, and I honestly believe that if Bassil Hafez would have went with the intention of wrestling, he probably could have bodied Mickey Gall on the ground for the whole thing, but instead he chose to make this an absolute scrap on the feet and deliver a really fun fight for the fans, which was awesome in front of the crowd. Hafez is a fun guy to watch. I don't know about him being like a world champ. His Jack Della fight has aged beautifully, and he's definitely got some abilities for sure, but I don't know. I don't believe in the hype. Like, I think Chaos Williams would knock him out. I'd be interested in that fight, though. I think that'd be a dope matchup. Hafez is a savage, and maybe he'd use wrestling more in a fight like that. Nonetheless, Hafez, good win in what was a fun fight, delivered some wild shots, but there's openings on the feet, there's some flaws, and Mickey Gall gave a gutsy effort, though. He's definitely not getting cut from the UFC after that performance, even though, like, you know, Gall's never challenging for a belt, but he's a tough Jersey dude. 7-6 record, but he's better than the record. Next fight on the card, it was Jake Matthews versus Phil Rowe. In the first round early, Phil Rowe was looking like a god on the feet. Absolutely busting Jake Matthews up, touching him with beautiful shots. Then there was a low shot that encountered when Rowe was jumping for a flying knee. And then like Jake Matthews kind of like karate chopped the cup. And Phil Rowe after that point didn't come back the same. Now, I'm not making an excuse for Phil Rowe saying that the cup was the main reason he didn't perform. But Jake Matthews, after that, took over the fight. He finished strong with the grappling. All these damn grappling matches Phil Rowe is doing, and it just isn't helping him against Jake Matthews. Jake Matthews had decent combinations. He's been in the UFC since he was freaking 19, 10 years in the UFC. And he's definitely improving. He looked pretty good. Hard fight against Phil Rowe, but he was definitely the right guy getting the win at the end of it. Rowe early looked nice, but when Matthews started making the fight dirty, Phil Rowe just fell apart, man. Let's keep running to the next one. Next fight on the card was Grant Dawson versus Joe Solecki. This fight went how I kind of anticipated it to go, but just not with an emphatic finish for Grant Dawson, which would have been way better for his career. Grant Dawson bodied Joe Solecki. He grinded out a win using his wrestling, which is his best attribute, beating up Joe Solecki from top position en route to a unanimous decision. Now, in the first round early, Joe Solecki threatened Grant Dawson with a really gnarly guillotine, and it was close, but Dawson's ability to get out was definitely there. Dawson's actually really hard to deal with for a ton of guys in the UFC lightweight division because of how good his takedowns and top control is. If he's not getting stung by a big power shot on the feet, he's going to grind you out and beat you up. He shows, I think, a good gas tank, good wrestling pressure, good ground and pound, and I think Grant Dawson is getting a top 15 fight next. I mean, if not something close to it, I don't have the exact opponent, but he's a hard fight for a ton of guys in the UFC. I mean, you even give him a Jalen Turner. Could Grant Dawson maybe not out-wrestle him for 3 rounds? Or you give him a Drew Dober. Could he not out-wrestle him for 3 rounds? I think he could. Sure, he could get stung on the feet and knocked out like the Bobby Green fight, but Dawson's ready to grind for 3 rounds, man. Dominant win over Joe Solecki. Next fight on the card, heavyweights. I got to get a sip of this Coke Zero. We had Jailton Almeida versus Alexander Romanov. Almeida took Romanov down with his first attempt, and that was it. And then he took the back, and then he worked towards the rear naked choke. Beautiful submission in the first round. Jailton Almeida gets a finish, which was definitely needed, especially after like the loss to Blades and the really boring fight with Derek Lewis, where he just dominated for 5 rounds but did pretty much nothing as far as ground and pound. He took Romanov, the wrestler, down, and he made it look easy. Now, Romanov showed up to this fight in such bad shape. I really don't think Romanov is taking his career seriously at this point. I don't think strength and conditioning is in the forefront of his mind. I think he's kind of half-assing it. I think it's embarrassing to show up as fat as he did. I think he needs to get on a strength and conditioning program. At one point, he was losing weight and looking good. He's completely fallen off since then, and he seems to not be really taking his career all that serious. Now, it doesn't matter. Jailton Almeida could have beaten the best version of Romanov, but he made it look so damn easy. And then he called out Ciryl Gane after subtly. I like that call out. I think it makes sense to call out Ciryl Gane because stylistically, Jailton Almeida has a great chance to win that fight. And I still think Jailton Almeida is a hard fight for John Jones or even a Tom Aspinall. I know Curtis Blades got him, but realistically, Blades was the worst matchup in the division for him. Next fight on the card, it brings us to our featured prelim of the night. Roman Kopylov beat the kickboxing phenom, César Almeida. He outstruck him. He dropped him badly with a straight shot in the first round. He found takedowns in the fight. He found control in the fight. And he pulled off a really good win, which I think is major for his career. Because beating César Almeida was a must. Almeida was a decent prospect coming in with that kickboxing background. Almeida was actually doing real good work in the third round. And then striking-wise, he's doing good work, but then he can't stop takedowns. Now, I will say, Roman Kopylov fought with the takedown and control style late because César Almeida was starting to have success in the third round, and he was the MMA fighter. Almeida's striking is legit, but the takedown defense and the ability to get up is just not there. And at 36 years old, for him to close that gap, I think it's a little bit far-fetched at this point. Roman Kopylov in the first round looked awesome. Second and third, he looked okay. The wrestling was there for him late in the fight for him to secure a win using MMA, using his Russian wrestling that he's learned, but wasn't super impressive late. But he had to fight Almeida with that game plan. What are you going to do? Try to bang with Almeida on the feet when you're exhausted? No, that's a good way to get knocked out. So as much as I didn't love seeing Kopylov end up being the grinding wrestler, it was a must for him to definitely win. And he was able to pull it off. He beat César Almeida, and you know what? Could be a ranked fight next. He's close to it. I like Almeida's style, though. I want to see more out of Almeida, but the fucking takedown defense is going to prevent him from being any legit, like, title threat. But still, nonetheless, Roman Kopylov, deserving win. Solid W. Did drop the kickboxer in the first round, so we got to really applaud that. Let's jump to the main card. If you guys haven't yet, make sure you smash the likes. And if you're new, subscribe. We had Randy Brown and Elizeu Zaleski. The striking of Randy Brown was on point here, as well as the grappling. Now, in the second round, Zaleski actually almost got a rear naked choke. And then Randy Brown late reverses the position and almost strangles Zaleski. Brown was on point, though. Striking from range was there. His boxing is pretty good. He's got nice straights. He's quick. There's a lot of things to like with Randy Brown's striking. Zaleski is 37. He slowed a little bit and definitely didn't have the takedown option in this fight. And Randy Brown made him pay. He landed good shots on the feet. I'm reminiscing back on the fight, and I'm like, yeah, Randy Brown looked pretty good. Good boxing. Shots were there. He touched up Zaleski. I think he stunned him a little bit. I'm 99% sure he did not drop him. If somehow he did drop him, I'm forgetting, let me know in the comments. But I think Randy Brown did his thing. He touched him up nicely. He moved on him nicely. And he deserved the win at the end of it. So good performance for Randy Brown against Elizeu Zaleski, who's actually a really game fighter. And I mean, he beat the shit out of Benoit Saint-Denis a few years ago. Randy Brown, after the fight, called out Jeff Neal. And I actually think he deserves it. He's on a 3-fight win streak. Let's see how Randy Brown does against some of the better fighters in the division. Yes, Jack Della fucked him up. Jack Della's top tier. Jeff Neal's a little bit of a step below, and I think it makes a ton of sense for Randy Brown to get that fight next, especially with Jeff Neal coming off losses. I'm down. Let's find out what he can do. Next fight on the card, Niko Price versus Alex Morono. This one let me down. Alex Morono I locked up this week, and that turned out to be the fumble of all fumbles because I think he just didn't show up in his best form. Now, he took the fight on 4 weeks' notice, but he looked terrible. I've never seen him look like this. He looked gassed out in the third round. He had nothing left. Niko Price looked turtle speed slow compared to some of these other UFC welterweights, and Morono normally looks pretty quick and can move hard for 3 rounds. He gassed completely, and he loses a second fight to Niko Price. Niko Price is his damn kryptonite. Price landed some decent punches. He was kind of staggering Morono a lot in the fight. Like, when Price would land, there'd be way more of a reaction as opposed to when Morono landed on Price. When Morono landed on Price, I felt like they were slapping shots, whereas when Price landed, he actually did some damage to Morono. Morono was a little gun-shy at points. He was nervous to commit. He's very upright with his style. He doesn't generate a ton of power, and he really couldn't generate any power against Niko Price here. Niko even had moments from the top position in the second round, getting this fight to the ground, which I thought was pretty good, and he got a deserving win. Niko Price snaps the losing streak, gets things back flowing again for himself. For Alex Morono, this is actually kind of a bad loss because he was looking good as of recent, and even though, yeah, he had trouble with Court McGee, he still won that fight, and he's had good striking moments. Now, the Niko Price loss, it hasn't aged great. I mean, I don't know. Niko Price, I thought, was more towards the twilight of his career, but he beats Alex Morono. So who knows what's next for Morono. For Price, more fun fights. At the very least, something I will say about Price that I will always love and respect is the fact that he fucking scraps, man. Same with Morono. So, good fight. Niko Price, the rightful winner for sure at the end of it. Next fight on the card, it was Kevin Holland versus Mikhail Oleksiejczuk. This is where things got interesting. So Kevin Holland was brutally dropped by a lead hook in the first round. And Mikhail Oleksiejczuk starts ground and pounding him like an idiot. Kevin Holland got flash knockdown, but he wasn't out. And the fact that Oleksiejczuk was so reckless on top is crazy to me. His jiu-jitsu is very subpar. Kevin Holland then locks up an armbar. Oleksiejczuk is in it. It's fully there. What does he do? He doesn't tap out. His arm gets broken, and Herb Dean stops the fight. If you're Oleksiejczuk and you drop Kevin Holland, you back away and you let him back up to your feet. What are you doing trying to strike with him? I thought that was ludicrous. I thought that was delirious. I thought that was delusional. I thought that was terrible. But that is how the game goes, unfortunately. And Kevin Holland was able to weather a little bit of an early storm by Oleksiejczuk and expose Oleksiejczuk for being one of the more one-dimensional fighters in the UFC, man. His jiu-jitsu sucks. 3 straight submission losses from Mikhail Oleksiejczuk, and he's getting done with quick by these guys, man. And he has good boxing, but nothing else. Kevin Holland called himself the king of the gatekeepers. He's down to fight whoever next. We got to love Kevin Holland. I got to come up with a magical matchup for him tomorrow. I'll think about it, and I'll come up with something. Still, I think Kevin Holland's got some juice left. Yeah, he was dropped. The submission was there, and he locked it up nicely. Co-main event of the evening. Sean Strickland, Paulo Costa. This was not a split decision. I don't know how one judge had it 49-46 Paulo Costa. 48-47 Strickland is the best you could have gave. And even then, it could have been 49-46. It could be 50-45. But a judge gives it to Paulo. Okay, Jersey judges were off tonight. But what did I like from Sean Strickland? I like that he kept Paulo Costa moving from him. I like that he worked the front kicks and jabs. Paulo Costa didn't really land any major head strikes. Neither did Sean Strickland, but still Strickland landed a good amount of volume. Strickland was teeping the body with the front kicks, walking him down. Paulo's running the whole time. Paulo didn't really sit on any shots and throw hard. He tried to rip some nice kicks. He definitely chopped up Strickland's leg pretty well. But outside of doing that, there wasn't a ton else. Sean Strickland pretty much put the pressure on him throughout, and then he secured the win with a hard 5th round finish where he didn't really knock Paulo Costa down, but Paulo went down after a high kick by Sean Strickland was blocked, and then Strickland flurried him late, and it just was a great moment to secure the round. Sean Strickland wins against Paulo Costa in what was not a super entertaining fight, and even Strickland after said that fight sucked, which I respect about Strickland. He's honest about his performances. He immediately said he wants a rematch with Du Plessis. Now, if he is willing to turn around rather quick, I could see him getting a rematch against Du Plessis at the end of the summer if Adesanya's not getting the shot. The issue is, if they don't do that next and they do Adesanya DDP, what about Khamzat Chimaev if he beats Robert Whittaker? Khamzat Chimaev is going to be the guy that everybody's talking about getting the damn title shot, and he's supposedly supposed to be getting it with a win over Robert Whittaker. Then where's Sean Strickland? Is he in no man's land? Does he fight the Amavov Cannonier winner? I don't know how easy a path back to the belt is for Sean Strickland. But coming back, beating Costa, the most deserving contender, especially if the fight is relatively soon, is Sean Strickland versus Dricus Du Plessis. Because I think Adesanya, as much as I want to see him in DDP, he's non-committal to the idea. And if Du Plessis is down to fight this summer and Strickland's a willing dance partner, sorry, Izzy, after a brutal loss against Strickland and not fighting since then, I don't think you deserve the fight. So I'd say give Strickland a title fight. For Costa, give him fun fights. There's matchups to be made for Paulo Costa, but, was no match for Sean Strickland. It wasn't like a beating, but it was a technical washout. It wasn't a split decision. It was unanimous. Let's jump to the main event of the evening. If you guys haven't yet, make sure you smash the likes. And if you're new, subscribe. Islam Makhachev and Dustin Poirier. Well, the first round starts with a typical Makhachev grappling domination. He has the back of Poirier. And I'm thinking he might be getting a first round rear naked choke. It was tremendous work by Islam Makhachev early in the fight. As the fight wears on, some time goes by. Second round, Poirier's striking with him, but Makhachev is outstriking Poirier. Makhachev won every round. I don't think that Poirier won any round. I know I saw people in my live chat during the Fight Companion saying 2-2, and I think that might have been a little wishful thinking, giving Poirier credit for just surviving the rounds and looking decent, that we're going to give him the rounds now. I won't do that. I think Makhachev was clearly ahead. He outstruck Dustin Poirier and outgrappled Poirier. And in the 5th round, as good as Poirier's wrestling defense was, the ankle pick late and then jumping to the front headlock and then strangling him with, I believe, the Darce choke. We'll double check it. Yep, Darce choke for Islam Makhachev. I almost said Anaconda. Locked in. Dustin Poirier taps out in the 5th round. And you know what? Poirier can be proud of his career after this one. Why? Because at the very least, he gave Makhachev an extremely hard fight. He cut up Makhachev with an elbow on the inside. He landed some big body shots, some decent punches on the top. But Makhachev just proved he was better. And now, what did Makhachev do after the fight? He called out Leon Edwards. He wants to jump up in weight and take on Leon for the belt. I think this is a sensible call out. Now, if Belal Muhammad is to win, I don't know. But if Leon Edwards wins, I think a Makhachev versus Leon Edwards fight should be next for like December. I think we have to consider making that fight. Actually, I want to see it. Makhachev, if he's going to stay at lightweight, then it's an Arman Sarukian fight. But I don't think the Sarukian fight sells that much right now. I don't. I really believe it doesn't. I don't know who Sarukian would fight instead. I don't think it'd be an interim belt. Maybe another number one contender fight. Or he's going to have to wait. Because Makhachev calling out Leon Edwards for his career, that makes more sense. He's defended the belt. And he beat Dustin Poirier. Who's legit? Dustin Poirier's legit. Say what you want, he's legit. And he outstruck Poirier in a lot of fights. He rocked Poirier in the first round. He landed good shots on Dustin Poirier. And Makhachev's chin held up because Poirier did catch him with a dynamite straight shot. And Makhachev ate it like it was nothing. So I have to say, I am very impressed with Makhachev's striking game. I'm less impressed with his wrestling, but I am definitely impressed with his killer tenacity and forcing a late finish in the fight. It was good to see. Makhachev, the rightful winner at the end of it, beats Dustin Poirier. Poirier's swan song didn't go as planned. He's considering retirement after the fight, but he can be proud of his performance. He went into the 5th round with Makhachev. He cut him up. He made it a brawl. But at the end of the day, when it came down to who was the doggest dog, Islam Makhachev reigns at the top and still champ. And I think, the pound for pound 1 spot is still probably his unless somehow, if John Jones goes out even beating Stipe, I don't think you jump Makhachev in line for that. I don't know. I got to go with the active champ as the pound for pound number 1. And I think it's fair to say that now Islam Makhachev calling for a fight against the champion up in weight, I want to see it. I don't think Leon Edwards is an easy fight for him. I think it's an extremely difficult fight, actually. But damn, I'm curious. And maybe Makhachev looks better at 170 than he has at 155 because he cuts a fuckload of weight. If he goes up at 170, wins, I could see him vacating the 55 belt, defending at 70 maybe one time, and then retiring. I want to see what Makhachev can do against Leon. So if Leon wins, that's the fight to make. For Poirier, if you don't retire, a McGregor fight's always on the table. A trilogy with Gaethje's always on the table. A Max Holloway fight's always on the table. There are 3 very real options for Dustin Poirier, or even going up in weight, fighting Colby, but I don't think he's that interested in that. But moving up in weight in general could be something. The Nate Diaz fight, if Diaz re-signs with the UFC, could be dope. If Poirier is willing to stick around for fun fights, he'll get them. But a shot at a world title, I don't think so. Maybe a BMF belt, though. But no world title shot for him next. Gutsy effort and something to be proud of for Poirier. That was UFC 302. And a major takeaway for me is that Islam Makhachev is nowhere near the wrestling level of Khabib, but he is a way better striker. Now, the main event was Fight of the Night, which I got to say is good to hear. And it was also a Performance of the Night bonus for Islam Makhachev. Kevin Holland also got the Performance of the Night with the arm-breaking arm bar. Now, as far as the picks, I went 7-5 on the picks. I won with our first fight with Lima, won with Perez in the second, won with Hafez in the third, lost with Phil Rowe as a dog in the fourth, won with Grant Dawson over Solecki, won with Almeida over Romanov, lost with a pick flip to Almeida, and then obviously Kopylov got him, won with Brown against Zaleski, lost with the fucking lock, unfortunately, with Morono and Price. I was pissed about this one, but it is what it is, man. Morono just didn't have his best showing. I still think a full camp primed Morono can beat Niko Price. Delusional pick flip from Kevin Holland to Oleksiejczuk after the weigh-ins turned out to be a fumble. I thought Oleksiejczuk was a little bit smarter and wouldn't just willingly engage in the grappling, but toodle-doo. It is what it is. The Paulo Costa ballsy pick turned out to be moronic. Sean Strickland beat him, and then I had Makhachev by submission. Perfect pick in the main event. So 7-5 record on the card. Most confident picks. I did sweep, which I'm happy about that. And I'm bringing the vengeance next week. You guys know how it is. We bring it back better. The live stream was crazy, too. I got over 100,000 views during the Fight Companion. So I just want to say thank you to everybody who's supporting me. I hope you guys enjoyed the recap show. Definitely let me know what you thought of the fight card in the comments. If I had to give the card a score, I'll give it a 7. I might be reaching with a 7 because it was a good main event. But it wasn't an amazing card. It wasn't a bad card, but it wasn't amazing. It was okay. It was decent. A lot of decisions. No knockouts on the card. At least it was a knockdown and an arm break in the Kevin Holland fight. UFC 302 in the books. I hope you guys enjoyed the recap show. Make sure you smash the likes. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe. Drop a W in the comments. Also, if you got nothing to say and just want to boost the algorithm for your boy. Thank you guys for tuning in to the week's worth of content. Thank you for watching the recap. And I will see you all in the next one. Peace.